Welcome to the Creepin' It Real Show, your one-stop shop for not-so-serious weird news, TV and movie reviews, and some paranormal shenanigans. We'll also take dives into what's going on in pop culture. You can follow us on Twitter at creepin_it, on Facebook at facebook.com/Creepin' It Real Show, and you can also shoot us an email at creepinitrealshow@gmail.com. Welcome to the Creepin' It Real Show. I'm one of your hosts, Yardley, live and direct from Atlanta, Georgia. And today we are just going to talk about some of the favorite things that we've seen throughout the year 2020. But before we get started, I'm going to bring in my co-host, Moni, from the West Coast. How are you doing?
Hello. Well, besides the fact that our tech on this show feels like a metaphor for this whole fucking year,
Sure.
that's okay. We're good. We're a good team with those things. And other than that, I can't complain. I'm really happy to see this year go by the wayside. Not that things will magically change overnight, but we can pretend. So.
Yeah, I hear you on that front. And Christy, how's it going up north?
Good. It is officially New Year's Eve as we're recording, like literally New Year's Eve. So we are getting started drinking early, and I swear that's not the reason why nothing's working. I don't know what the fuck has happened since last time we recorded, but nothing is working. So we got everything like put together with bubble gum and tape right now, and we're gonna get through this.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. Well, basically, we're just going to do a rundown, obviously of different TV and movie genres, some of our favorite things. And I'm pretty sure that along with all of us here on this podcast and everybody listening in, we've probably all seen way more than our fair share of TV and movies over the last year. But in this case, I'm just going to highlight a few things that stuck out to me. So I'll go ahead and go first. Sort of, as far as drama goes, a couple of my favorites. Something that came out a little bit earlier this year is called The Five Bloods. It's a Netflix movie. It was written by and directed by Spike Lee. It has Delroy Lindo, Chadwick Boseman, and Clark Peters in it. And it basically talks about Vietnam vets and the way that they've dealt with friendship, loss, PTSD, and guilt. Essentially, the movie is about getting closure. It's very solid. I think we briefly talked about it a few months back, but it's definitely a solid movie. I recommend it. And there is a show that just dropped probably over the last week. It's called Bridgerton. It's also on Netflix. And
it's on my list. I haven't seen it yet. That's that's the one my next show I'm starting.
Yeah, I definitely want to hear what you think about it. But it's basically during the Regency era in England. It's about 8 siblings of the Bridgerton family and their attempt to find mostly orchestrated love. But there's a lot of gossip and the struggles of the socialite elite class in England. And essentially, it kind of boils down to people choosing their own path regardless of what other people think. But it's a solid show, and it's on your list, Christy. Moni, have you checked it out at all? Or
No, I haven't checked it out. It looks dishy. It looks like the kind of thing I'd be into, and I feel like I've reached the end of the internet when it comes to streaming television. So, why not? What else am I doing?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I definitely want to get your opinion on the show. It's interesting. It's definitely not.
Oh, sorry. I don't think Netflix can do any wrong at this point. They just need to drop something. It could be anything. They could literally just take a crap on like a rug and we'd all be like, yay! Because I'm not saying this one's not good. I'm just saying like we're all so just waiting constantly for new shows to drop. I'm always on there looking for something new. So it's, of course, Netflix doesn't churn out bad stuff, so that makes it even better. But it is pretty sad how we are all so just thirsty all the time for new stuff.
But I've watched a ton of cheese stuff that I definitely wouldn't typically watch. I've watched since
this
the
one
pandemic
was surprised.
Started.
This was surprised to see on your list because I haven't seen it yet, and I'm excited to see it, but I was surprised you watched it. So I was like, well, good for you, getting out of your comfort zone.
I got I got through it in about 2 days. I mean, I watched every season of Downton Abbey though. So,
oh, you did? Okay.
You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
It's, when I was younger, the soaps, All My Children, all of that stuff used to be on, and
oh yeah.
What I'm saying, your moms be watching that stuff, so by default you're checking it out, but it's pretty solid, and it's definitely something that you'll probably hear people speaking on a little bit more. It was trending on Twitter a few days ago, and people are really clowning it in a good way. And on the fantasy front, Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance, we talked about this on the podcast. When it first came out, it's essentially a prequel to the Dark Crystal, which came out in 1982. It's about three Gelflings that discover the horrifying secret behind the Skeksis' power, and they set out on an epic journey to ignite the fires of rebellion and try to save their world. So it's basically, this is kind of like the peak of what puppetry can be, a combination, a lot of practical, but also some CGI enhancements on certain elements of it. I thought it was solid and it worked, but I was always a fan of the original, especially the design. And if you check out any type of, the art of books of the Dark Crystal, very, some very dark, themes. So it's kind of one of those things. Have y'all seen the Happy Time Murders? The thing with Melissa McCarthy. It's like a murder mystery, but with puppets.
Oh, I think I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's on what I can't remember what streaming service. So it might be on Hulu or Amazon Prime. But whenever you try to make something deep, but it's with puppets, there's still that element of they're puppets. But when you start letting the puppets, kill each other and do stuff like that, it kind of makes it interesting. So I would definitely recommend that. And my other fantasy pick is Carnival Row, which is on Amazon Prime. And it's about mythological immigrant creatures struggling to coexist with humans. Very solid show. Orlando Bloom is one of the leads that's in it. Definitely a binge-worthy series. I think I haven't really ran across anybody who didn't think that it was solid. So I'll definitely throw that one out there as a should watch for our listeners. Action. Another Netflix banger to me. La Revolution. It's a reimagined story of the French Revolution. It's basically about Joseph Guillotine, who discovers that a virus is spreading amongst the nobility, causing them to murder all of the commoners. It's pretty solid. And like I said, it's a Netflix original. It's pretty cool. So it's got a little bit of a horror element, a lot of good special effects and makeup. And it also is one of those things about how the nobility kind of screws over the poor folks. And I
don't know nothing about that.
Except you throw in, like a killer virus in the mix, and it really sucks for the poor folks.
Or a pandemic.
Extraction, another Netflix thing. It's about a mercenary.
I saw that one. It's worth the watch, huh? Okay.
Yeah, with Chris Hemsworth. Mm-hmm. So he plays a mercenary who's hired to rescue the kidnapped son of a imprisoned international crime lord. That was a movie that kind of attracted me just for the fact of, I've pretty much only seen Chris Hemsworth in the Thor movies. Mm-hmm. And just to kind of see if he had, action movie, chops, if he could do it. And this movie kind of proved to me that he could totally survive in the action movie, type genre. So I was pretty impressed with it. And there were some good fight scenes. A lot nowadays, a lot of these directors are doing like the long take fight scenes. And you have a couple of those in this movie that's solid as well. You saw it, didn't you, Moni?
Yeah, it's actually on my list of one of my favorites for the year as well. It's really well produced. It's great action, and like you said, the long takes make it kind of more realistic and fun, where you see people actually tire out while they're still doing this military style fighting.
Yeah.
There's some good morality stuff in it. Obviously, Chris Hemsworth is super hot. There's a hot girl in it. I don't even hardly remember her, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. And if you like action movies, or if you like to look at Chris Hemsworth, it's a good one to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And there was actually I think there were these kids. They were in Nigeria, and they had this YouTube channel. I don't have the name off the top of my head, but basically what they do is they recreate a lot of movies, but with just kind of stuff that's around the house. They kind of act out these scenes and then they edit it together. And they're all pretty funny. And they actually had caught the attention. They did Extraction. They caught the attention of Chris Hemsworth. He shouted them out, and then I think they sent them a bunch of real video equipment. Like they bought them all these Macs and cameras and all of this type of stuff. So it's pretty dope, and it worked out for those kids. And yeah, that's one of the reasons why Extraction is dope, cool. Because
when I think about Chris Hemsworth, literally every single time the picture that comes to mind is the Vacation remake, where he's in it and he puts his leg up on the bed and you can see he's wearing his underwear. Have you guys seen that? Yeah, y'all should check that out.
I'm assuming that's a comedy.
I mean, you wouldn't want to check that out, Yardley. I mean, the movie is funny. It's a funny remake of basically Vacation.
Maybe he would. Don't be judging.
Wait, you mean you're talking about Chevy Chase Vacations?
Chase, but it's not. It's not him. It's a remake, and it's got the guy from The Office, not Steve Carell, but he's also from The Hangover, where he's the dentist and he pulls his tooth out.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's got Christina Applegate as the mom, and yeah, it's funny. It's really cute, and it's pretty funny in its own. And then Chris Hemsworth is Christina Applegate's sister's dude, and he's this crazy body Texan, and he basically is walks in their bedroom and is talking, and he's in his boxer brief underwear, and he puts his leg up on the he's huge, he's hung like a bull. It's hysterical. And everybody's just oh my god, it's just standing there. Every time somebody says Chris Hemsworth, that's the immediate image that comes to mind. So everyone talk about Chris Hemsworth all the time, please. Sorry, but it's quite a memory there.
Well, let's go ahead and ride this laughter into my comedy picks. Dolomite is his name, another Netflix original. It's basically the story of Rudy Ray Moore, and Dolomite is played by Eddie Murphy. Very solid movie, very funny. It definitely goes to show you that Eddie Murphy obviously still has it, and something else that'll be coming out probably in the next, I guess, 4 or 5 months. It's going to be coming to America too.
I can't wait.
I know.
Sorry.
That's Amazon Prime. There is a trailer. There's a trailer for it, and one of the things that the original Coming to America is known for that people think about is always the old man in the barbershop, and in the movie trailer they're in it too, and it's all of them must be 120 at this point in the story, but yeah, Dolomite, his name is pretty solid. Dave Chappelle always, anybody who's listened to Dave Chappelle, if you like Chappelle's comedy, it's very solid. And a lot of the things that he does when he's talking about current events and things that are going on, he's still the same creative person who can talk about something in a deep way, but say it in a way that someone that's probably 6 years old could understand.
Is this the one where he's outside on an outdoor theater, or is this a different one?
No,
this is the one he did in the middle of pandemic? Okay, all right. I've seen the one where he was on the stage outside.
Yeah,
and that was a good one. I haven't seen this one then.
That's out in Ohio, near where he lives, in his neighborhood.
Yeah.
COVID social distance thing or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cobra Kai, and actually tomorrow, season 3 will be dropping of Cobra Kai. But for those who don't know, Basically, 34 years after the events of the 1984 All Valley Karate Tournament, a down and out Johnny Lawrence seeks redemption by reopening the infamous Cobra Kai dojo, reuniting his rivalry with the now successful Daniel LaRusso. I think we might have briefly mentioned this in the things that we were watching, but I think the cool thing about this series is that it makes you root for Joey Lawrence, more than Daniel LaRusso. And it goes to show you how like a certain big event can kind of define you and ride you out for the rest of your life. And I kind of think where this series is going is just basically saying that, you can't be defined and you can change. But it was surprisingly a lot better than I was thinking. So Cobra Kai is bringing in. Actually, they're bumping up the release date because I think it was supposed to come out a couple of weeks from now, and they moved it up to January the 1st.
Okay.
Did y'all watch the first 2 seasons of that, or not really gotten into it yet?
I did not.
I didn't either. I've seen it, of course, a million times, like advertised, and then of course there's like a credit card commercial. I think that's like kind of a joke about it. I thought it was kind of a dude show. I didn't realize it could be something that I would find interesting.
It's totally solid because this show obviously appeals to people in our age demographic, but they have other characters in it that appeal to people who might not have been around, who just might not have been born, and in the early 80s.
Moni.
But it's so, but but the way that they break it down in the show over the first 2 seasons is you don't have to have watched the original Karate Kid, It doesn't really matter. You kind of get what it's about. But if you were around in the 80s, when Karate Kid came out, it was pretty big.
Oh, that was everything.
You know what I'm saying? You got people from every ethnic group running around the neighborhood doing the crane kick.
Oh, yeah.
Breaking, you know what I mean? So it's definitely solid.
Wax on, wax off.
Yes. I guarantee you, Christy, when you start watching it, you'll probably have binged the first 2 seasons like that week. Like,
awesome. Damn. You filled up my queue quite quickly, Yardley. Thank you.
No, just a couple of horror picks. We actually reviewed this a couple of shows back. The Call. It's basically where 2 people are connected by phone, and they're in the same home but 20 years apart, and basically a serial killer puts another woman's past and life on the line to change her own fate. That was really enjoyable. You've got like a little time jump thingamajiggy going on. It's just a weird concept, but it was way better than I thought when I picked the show for all of us to watch. And then there's something else that dropped on Netflix probably in the last couple of weeks. It's called Alive. And this movie revolves around a video game live streamer's struggle for survival as he's forced to stay alone at his apartment in Seoul during a zombie apocalypse.
Did we review that one?
Nah, we did not.
Oh, I thought we did. Why did I think that?
Nah, we didn't. One. I mean, and The Walking Dead made me tap out of the zombie genre a while ago. But also what a lot of people don't know, as popular, during that little window, when The Walking Dead was, pretty popular, it appealed to it got a lot of younger viewers in, and you have a lot of people who really think that the zombie genre took off, or it started up, in the 2000s, and in reality, the 80s had, the fair share of zombie movies as well. But, But yeah, it's solid. I mean, I think one of the coolest things about the zombies is, some movies have a different take of what people do or what the zombie can do when they come back. And this is kind of cool how they represent, some of these zombies. The Kingdom, it's a television series. Season 2 came out earlier this year, and it's about a deceased king rising from the dead, so to speak, and a mysterious plague that's beginning to spread. The prince must face a new breed of enemies to unveil the evil scheme and save his people. If you like sword fighting and you like sort of undead virus type movies, this is right up your alley. I think season 3 is somewhat in production, but The Kingdom is definitely a solid 2-season.
That was a good one.
Yeah. So, I definitely recommend that. And just as far as like raunchy, dark comedies or like romance, there's one called Yes, God, Yes. And it's about a Catholic girl finds herself having tempting thoughts after an AOL chat turns unexpectedly racy. And it's Natalia Dyer. That's from Stranger Things. She's the one who was the girlfriend of, what's the guy with the big hair that was working at the burger joint with, I can't remember his name.
It seems like that's been 100 years ago.
200 years ago.
Yeah.
But it's pretty funny because there's a segment of it where she goes on like this religious retreat or something, and it's just totally funny. It's one of those awkward, funny movies. And this is something that's called The Little Hours. It's on Hulu, and it's got Alison Brie, Aubrey Plaza, Kate McCucci, Fred Armisen, and Nick Offerman. And there are other people in it that I'm pretty sure, people will recognize from having seen in other comedies. But it's a medieval black comedy about nuns struggling with temptation. And it's pretty funny. It's another one of those awkward, dark things.
2 themes on your romance.
I know. Trying to put raunchy, raunchy on there. But I guess you could say that Bridgerton in a way is kind of a romance or something like that. Bridgerton is going to have y'all, the dude in Bridgerton is going to have y'all pissed off. It's just pretty funny, but pretty much.
I've seen a picture of the dude because everybody's like drooling over him. One of them anyway.
But yeah, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, we've all watched so many things, and these are just a few of the things that stuck out to me. I probably could have kept going, for another 30 minutes on all the different things, but those are some great recommendations from myself. I enjoy them, and they're the types of things that even though I have them in my watch list, they're not going to come out. Like these are the ones that I don't click the button to, take out of the queue. So all of these are as much watches and notification worthy on Netflix. So, Christy, I mean, what has kind of stuck out to you as far as, watching this year?
Yeah, when I saw what you wanted to talk about, I was like, okay, cool, that'll be cool. And then I sat down and I started thinking over, and I'm like, it's like thinking about movies from the last 10 years, but it's just a year because this year has been so much shows and TV that I was like, it was like I had to get a card catalog out and like scroll through everything and try to like remember all the shows. And I was just like, whoa, it was just overwhelming to try to figure out. But then I just felt like, okay, what are the things that first come to mind? And those have to be clearly that. So my brain automatically wants to recall everything that I just watched instead of what's gone on over the year. So I had to kind of like marinate on it. So these are the ones that when I think about throughout the year, they might not necessarily have the themes that you tie to them, but they just stood out to me as favorites through the year of 2020. Not all of these were made in 2020. They were just when I watched them. So when you're listening to me, yes, I know they are not done in the 2020. So with that, I am probably going to get a lot of shit for this pick. This is one of my all-time favorite movies now. I think I've watched it 3 times. Assassination Nation. It doesn't have the highest rating, only a 5.9. I freaking love this movie. It is so genius. And to me, it just totally goes with the times.
I really enjoyed it. I just wanted to say I was going to put it on my list until I saw it on yours, but it's a great movie. Sorry, go ahead.
It really is. No, I'm so glad. Please, everybody chime in because yes, it takes place in high school. Yes, the girls are in high school and they do things that are going to make you uncomfortable because hello, we weren't doing this shit when we were in high school, or at least I thought I was crazy in high school. They are completely in tune with the entire planet, with the internet. So their doing and understanding and knowledge of shit is so much more than what we were at our time in high school. There is a trans girl in there, and she's amazing. The story is genius, and I can't get enough of it. It's so clever and so incredibly dark and fucked up that it's like it was made for me. So the Assassination Nation, after a malicious data hack exposes the secrets of the perpetually American town of Salem, chaos descends and 4 girls must fight to survive while coping with the black hack themselves. And when they say fight, they mean fucking fight.
Literally fight, yeah.
Knives. Like, we're not talking about fight like just, I'm running because I'm scared,
Yeah.
It is basically kind of a weird, fucked up version of the Salem witch trials. And to say that it's creepy and scary because it could seriously happen today is an understatement. Like, so easily could this whole concept happen today. And so it makes fun of like every political, every politic out there. There is no survivors of any kind of culture and politics and politically correct anything that they don't completely take on and just hack to death. So, I mean, as a parent, you're going to see yourself as I have a teenage daughter in high school right now. You're going to see yourself in some of these things and kind of chuckle and know that, you would probably do the same thing as the parent, but you also would do the same thing as the high school person. So it puts you in this really weird dynamic of relating to almost both sides, even though clearly the kids are in the, not in the right, but they're being attacked. And so it's a great movie. It's one of my favorites of the year, and it'll go down as one of my top 10s in period. So love it, recommend it. Some people didn't really care for it that I've recommended it to, and that's okay. I'm not here to force everybody to like what I like, but I just cannot recommend it enough to people that it might be their cup of tea. So with that one, I really also loved The Invisible Man. I thought it was so good. It's just
so good.
Yes. Oh my gosh, it was so good. And I was so ready for finally a sci-fi movie to really, really hit right.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's just been so many letdowns through the last couple of years on sci-fi that I was afraid to get my hopes on this one, but oh my gosh, it was so good. And to me, really, The Invisible Man, give me a fucking break. That sounds like the dumbest concept on the planet. And so if you haven't seen it on that attitude, because trust me, I was there, I think, didn't Yardley, you forced us to go to the movies and watch it. It was before quarantine. And oh my God, I loved it. I couldn't get it out of my head for weeks. I was just like, holy crap. I forced Rick to watch it. He never watches movies and he loved it. So the concept is when Cecilia's abusive ex takes his own life and leaves her his fortune, she suspects his death was a hoax. As a series of coincidences turn lethal, Cecilia works to prove that she is being hunted by someone nobody can see. And holy shit, man, it just takes you on a fucking ride. So if you have not seen this movie yet, you have to watch it. Seriously, it's amazing. It's got a 7.1 on IMDb. I think it should be higher. I loved it. So one that does have an amazing score on IMDb and earned every fucking point is The Queen's Gambit. Have you seen that, Yardley?
I've seen the first episode. I gotta finish watching it.
You've got to watch it. The first episode's good, but when you really, really get into when she gets older, oh God, it's so good. You don't need to give a shit about chess to watch this, because I don't, and it doesn't matter. I still don't give a shit about chess. I have no interest in ever doing chess, but I loved the story. It was so good. Orphaned at the tender age of 9, prodigious introvert Beth Harmon discovers and masters the game of chess in the 1960s USA. But child stardom comes at a price. Well, her shit came at a price early, so that's an interesting way of putting that. But yes, it is an amazing series. So good. The story's amazing. She doesn't have family. I loved the relationship between her and her adoptive mom when she does get adopted, and just their kind of weird relationship, almost as friends kind of at the end, and just more, you know, all the tragedies that she hits, and kind of learning to accept people. And there's no like romance per se. That's what I love about this. It's like a strong female role in a series that isn't just like all about relationships. Like, she has relationships and they stay in her life, but it's never anything it's not focused around that, I guess. That's so nice to have a lead female role in a series that isn't all about like Sex in the City. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
definitely must watch. And here's another one that I get a lot of shit for, and my Siri keeps fucking like coming in and trying to record and listen to me, and I keep telling it to stop, and it just keeps doing it. So if you start hearing something weird, that's what that is. Anyway, The Headhunter, it's on Shudder, and it's got a 5.3 on IMDb. I think it should be higher. I thought it was such a cool and different story. I crave different things and new concepts, because the horror genre can get so diluted with the same shit over and over, just with different characters. It just gets to where you're just like, okay, I need something new. I need a new concept. I need a new thing. The Headhunter to me was that. It takes a little bit of time to get into and figure out what the fuck is going on. But at the end, you're just like, oh. And I did recommend this to somebody, and they didn't really care for it. So again, the 5.3 on IMDb could be right. It was my jam. I really loved it. It is a medieval warrior's gruesome collection of heads is missing only one, the monster that killed his daughter years ago. So, wow, really good. Love the ending. Wonderful. So, and here's one that unless you live under a fucking rock, you have seen this, but I have to throw it out there because it is going to go down as one of the top series that's why it keeps doing that. I keep saying series. And when I say series, Schitt's Creek, 8.5, earned every point. Such a good show. I love it so much. I started watching it at the beginning of 2020 when I was recovering from surgery. And I fell in love with it. I fell in love with every single character. Every single character on that show is amazing. I mean, you couldn't have put anybody better in those roles. And I just adore every single one of them. It is where my little friend group is obsessed. That's all we talk about is Schitt's Creek. My friend just moved, and I bought her an artist-made congratulations on your new home, Schitt's Creek card, and we're just all obsessed. So if you're not watching this show, you have to, and you have to give it a few episodes, because I watched the first episode in 2019 and turned it off and moved on with my life. And I just kept hearing about it. So finally I was like, okay, when I have my surgery, I literally will have nothing to do. I'm going to try to knock this out and see what the big fuss is about. And yes, I was obsessed. So even Rick is getting into it. He's watching it from start, and I didn't even know. I just heard the opening chorus of the show, and I was like, I know those tubas. And so I walked in the living room, and sure enough, he's in there watching it and laughing. And I'm like, he's like, I love this show. It's so funny. I'm like, dude, where the fuck have you been? I've been like talking about this show nonstop for a year. So anyway, you have to check it out. It's when rich video store magnate Johnny Rose and his family suddenly find themselves broke. They are forced to leave their pampered lives to regroup in Schitt's Creek. And the humor in this show is just unparalleled. I love it so much. So please watch it, you guys. You're going to love it. Have you seen that one, Yardley?
It's so good.
It really is.
I've got it in. I've definitely have it queued up in my watch list. Isn't it like 6 seasons or something?
It's 6 seasons.
7 or something. It's what? Is it just 6 seasons? Lord,
It's 6
seemed like
seasons,
it was like
yeah.
7.
And then a special.
How many episodes? What is it? Is it 10 episodes?
No,
8
I think
episodes?
it's more than that. Because they're only
It's
30
a
minutes
commitment,
long.
but it goes by fast. And for me, it was a comfort watch too, because you eventually feel like you know them and you just sort of like sit back and laugh and kind of be with them. And one of the things I like best about it too is that the characters truly evolve. It's not one of those things where, you know, they still stay themselves and it's believable how they evolve, but you do see some growth in the characters, which is needed when you see where they start. So
yes. Yeah, when you start watching it, you're going to be like, oh my God, like, could you be like, really? These people, like, who would relate or who would enjoy watching people like this live and behave? But it just, they evolve, and then the town evolves with them. It's like this story of you see the townspeople who are around them, change. And it's fun. It's just such a great, and the thing I think I love the most about it is that it tackles a lot of LGBT conversation, but in a normal way. There's never any drama around it. Everybody's like, yes, they're gay. It's like, yes, of course. There is no like drama around it, which is what they set out to do, because they wanted it to just be a normal part of their lives instead of having to face backlash or negativity about being gay. They just wanted it to be this normal part of their lives, and everybody around them, even in a small town, are just accepting of it, and there's never, ever conversations about it. It just is what it is. And that's what I loved about it so much. Yeah. And so you guys, if you aren't watching it, give it a try. Give it a couple of episodes. Give it 4 or 5, and you'll really start to understand how great it is. And you'll really start to be invested in the characters more. So the first episode, you're just like, it's basically them in their mansion being kicked out and finding Schitt's Creek, and that they bought as a joke, the town. And so it's just funny. But yes, then you're kind of like, okay, that's it. But no, there's more. So anyway, moving on. I think Moni actually recommended this to me. I would, of course, watched it anyway, but it definitely stood out as 2020. I think everybody that's watched this movie, it was a huge 2020 hit because, of course, it tackles like Zoom, hanging out with people on Zoom, which is what, we all did this year. And when I read the description, I was like, really? Like, I thought it was going to be so stupid. I'm like, come on. The description is 6 friends hire a medium to hold a seance via Zoom during lockdown, but they get far more than they bargained for as things quickly go wrong. Like, I thought this was going to be the most generic bullshit, and it was so good. It did not disappoint in any way. I was on the edge of my seat, like, holy shit. I think it should have earned more than a 6.6 as far as when you think about horror. Yeah. When you think about horror, they're so hard to pull things off like this, and they freaking nailed it. So do you want to talk about it now, Moni, or do you want to talk about more?
Yeah, it was my favorite horror of the year, and part of that was the genius of it is they started filming it right when kind of lockdown, kind of when COVID came. So they filmed it over like a 90-day period. And obviously it's low budget, but it doesn't suffer from that. They actually use that to their advantage, because it's basically the premise is that they're having a Zoom meeting and they decide to do like, I think, an exorcism during the Zoom meeting. And obviously, just things like internet connections get in the way of doing the exorcism properly, and miscommunication and people playing pranks and shit like that. So it goes very wrong very quickly. It's 90 minutes or less. It's a fast ride. It's funny in parts. You see a lot of people get what they deserve. It's got some of the cliche, like cheesy characters, but then it's got some genuine, like, there's a lot of gore and it's done really well. There's jump scares. There's a little bit of every kind of horror, and it'll make you antsy at your next Zoom meeting after you. Oh, you know what? It's short because also the free version of Zoom is only like however many minutes, and so the movie actually cuts itself off. So it literally was just like it was filmed from Zoom's perspective while this whole thing played out. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah. I mean, how they did the story, like I thought, oh, how can you fucking do this with Zoom? But they really did. I mean, really, really did. So applause to whoever created this movie. I hope that they come out with some more really interesting content because, the horror genre, there's just so many opportunities and it's limitless as far as concepts because it's horror. You can do anything. So the more clever, the more you really get into people's skin, the better. So whoever did this, bravo. It was amazing. So with that one, I don't know why I'm really fucked up, but I love movies where you're either on vacation, you're just like enjoying your life and everything's wonderful, and then just all hell breaks loose and everything's horrible and basically you're fighting for your lives. So of course, when The Beach House came out, and also like environmental shit. And so this really hit all the buttons for me. It's called The Beach House. A romantic getaway for two troubled college sweethearts turns into a struggle for survival when unexpected guests and the surrounding environment exhibit signs of a mysterious infection. It's really weird and it's kind of cool the way they tell the story and what the environmental situation is. And I really dug it. I thought it was different. And it's one of those indie movies that, of course, again, like Host, doesn't have a huge budget, but I think they pulled it off. Some people didn't like it. Some people did. I liked it. So with that one, I would say like my drama show that I watched was The Undoing, a modern twist to a classical whodunit tale when the life of a wealthy New York therapist turns upside down after she and her family get involved with a murder case. Really, really good story. Really amazing. I binged that bad boy I think I was up until 4 a.m. watching it, and I was cussing and like mad at myself, but just could not stop. And it was so good. It has Hugh Grant and Nicole Kidman, but the rock star to me of the show was Noma, and I'm going to botch her last name, Doomswinny. She plays the attorney for Hugh Grant, who's accused of murder, and she's amazing. So
she needs her own series. We need a spin off of her, just everything. Yes.
She was amazing. So if you haven't watched that yet, it is really good. If you like a really, really good thriller murder, then that's a good one to watch. So I saw Moni has a hate watch, so I had to add one. My hate watch that I did for 2020, and I'm embarrassed because I don't really watch a lot of these dating shows. I think I've watched like 4 or 5 Bachelors out of like the million seasons they have. But I was bored and binged Love is Blind. Singles who want to be loved for who they are rather than what they look like have signed up for a less conventional approach to modern dating. It's weird. It makes no sense, but it is good trash TV. So if you're looking for some good trash, check that one out. And then one horror movie I just watched that I thought was kind of weird. And I thought the ending, I was like, kind of like, that's it. But then it also like stuck with me, was this movie called The Battery. And I guess the guy, I'm looking it up really quick. The guy that makes these films, this movie was done in 2012. But I heard about it and wanted to check it out. And it's the personalities of 2 former baseball players clash as they traverse the rural back roads of a post-plague New England teeming with the undead. So these guys were like, I don't know if they were professional baseball players. They were on the baseball player circuit of some sort. And a zombie apocalypse breaks out while they're on the circuit. So they team up and everybody's dead, and zombies, and they're trying to navigate, basically just constantly stay on the move. They feel like that's the best survival technique, and just staying on the move and never holding themselves up somewhere, because they did get trapped at some point for a long amount of time and couldn't get out of a house. So now they're just like, they clash a lot. They're 2 polar opposite people. It's It's weird. It's like it's good, but you can't go into it expecting it to be good because then I don't think you'll like it, if that makes any sense. I thought the ending was kind of random and strange and abrupt. So I was kind of like, what? And then I was like, whatever, because I was wrapping Christmas presents, but then I could not get it out of my head. So it was clearly effective enough that it took a toll on me in some way. So I just thought I would throw it out there it's an indie type, I would definitely say it's an indie movie. And whoever did this, I guess, has done things since, Jeremy Gardner. And he just I think another movie just came out that I want to watch. And I was going to watch it first. And then I saw this one. I think it's called After Midnight. And is it the one where his girlfriend, let me look. Yes. So this is the one I want to watch now, is when his girlfriend suddenly disappears, leaving a cryptic note as her only explanation. Hank's comfortable life and his sanity begin to crack. Then from the woods surrounding his house, something terrible starts trying to break in. It's like a monster movie and a love story at the same time. So sounds interesting. This guy's got some really weird, and he's also an actor in the movies. He's got really weird fucking stories. So if you're looking for something that you're just like needing some good horror, but don't expect like a big budget or a lot of actors, it's not going to be a big blockbuster. You should check his stuff out.
Well, where's the host? Is that is that Shudder or something? Or?
Shudder.
Yeah, I think Shudder. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Shudder exclusive. I think it was only as far as the U.S. It was only on Shudder, but yes, definitely worth that $5.
Nice.
That's my picks, y'all.
That's your picks.
I'm sticking to it.
Sticking to it. All right. Well, I guess that makes it my turn. Something that I just watched that I recommend when you're done listening to us to go check out on the new year, because it's a perfect theme. It's called Death to 2020. It's on Netflix. It actually stars Hugh Grant, Samuel L. Jackson, and Lisa Kudrow, among other actors that you'll recognize in it. But it's a parody, and it basically is a parody documentary of 2020 is how I would describe it. So it goes through the actual events of 2020, but their narration is fictionalized. And like, for instance, Lisa Kudrow plays this crazy like Fox News type of lady. And she'll say like really crazy things like coronavirus is going to kill us all. And then she'll just be like, I never said that. It's a hoax. I never said that. Check your tape. And like Hugh Grant he's balding and he plays like an older historian. And his history, quote unquote, is like, and then Westeros conquered and blah, 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 blah. And you're like, I think that was Game of Thrones, sir. And he's like, it is not. I'm the historian here. Get fucked. Like it's fucking hilarious. So check it out. That's a really good one. Again, on Netflix. Best documentary was by far I'll Be Gone in the Dark. I was riveted. That was the Michelle McNamara, former wife of Patton Oswalt, who passed away from drug addiction because she was working on a story of the Golden State Killer. And she cracked the case, and there was a best-selling book that she had been writing the book, and then it got finished in her name, and then they made the documentary on it. It is on HBO. It's very, very, very disturbing because they talk to some of the victims who survived, basically the rape and torture of this guy. But it's super good. It's super interesting. Michelle's story is woven through it, and it's just as interesting as the killings itself. Unsolved Mysteries. You guys, you want to get in the Wayback Machine? Do you know that the 2020 reboot of Unsolved Mysteries was also this year? Well, I guess I just said 2020, but season 1 was also this year, and season 2. They did 2 seasons in a year for us.
Wow.
God bless them, because we needed it.
So the first one hit in July. I liked the first 6 episodes better than I liked the last ones. But I also want to thank you, Netflix, for seeing that was something that we were all enjoying in the midst of lockdown and rushing out another season for us to at least have something to watch. So those are, I think most people probably have seen them. My favorite horror movie of the year, but we already talked about it, was Host. I also think Rob Savage, the director, is super cool guy. Like, he's someone who will answer you on Twitter, and maybe we could try to get him on the show at some point before he gets way big. I think he's working on another one too.
Reach out to him.
Yeah, we should. So a couple of just honorable mentions. These weren't necessarily my favorite, but as I was looking back at what I watched, things that I hadn't mentioned on the show before, I watched The Dark and the Wicked. And it's basically a story about two siblings who go out to like an old farmhouse to basically help their aging father as he passes away. But it turns out like demonic possession is involved and lots of disturbing things happen. And the ending's pretty crazy. What's that?
Where is this on? What is this on?
It's one of the streaming services, probably Shudder, I want to say. But I didn't pay for it, so put it that way. Just so you know, there's an app and a website called justwatch.com, and it will tell you, it's a database that will tell you where you'll find something and how much it'll cost you if you have to pay.
Cool. I need that. Yeah.
I have the app on my phone, and I'm always just like, ooh, this looks neat. And I'll just type it in my phone and figure out like what to watch. So The Dark and the Wicked was worth a watch. I enjoyed it. I like demon stuff, so it was scary. Now you're going to roll your eyes. This is not the La Llorona of 2019. This is a brand new La Llorona, and it is subtitled. I actually would not classify it as a horror. It's more of a suspense thriller, but it's very interesting and it has a nice twist. It is on Shudder. Again, it is subtitled. It's basically an older man in Guatemala. He's a rich man, and him and his family are going through the process of him being tried as a war criminal. And so all of these women are coming out with allegations against him, and he's also going through Alzheimer's and dementia. So at home, he's having, hallucinations, or is he? It's really interesting, really cool, I think, modern kind of updated twist on the La Llorona, type of thing. So check that one out. Again, suspense thriller, not so much a straight up horror on Shudder. Action movies, Yardley already mentioned Extraction, so I don't need to bring that up, but I really enjoyed that one. One that he didn't bring up that's in the same vein, where they're having these really big stars come onto our favorite streaming services. So I think this is either Netflix or I think it's Amazon. Old Guard. The Old Guard. It's actually based on a comic book series. Did you see that one, Yardley?
Yeah, I did. No, it's good. I think it's Netflix though. I can't.
Okay.
Remember, but yeah.
It's available on one of your favorite streaming services. You can check justwatch.com to find out where. But it stars Charlize Theron, and again, it's based off a comic book series, so there's a little more story than it needs. It's a little longer than it needs to be, but it has great action sequences. Charlize, I could watch her all day, every day. Yeah. And then there's another woman in it who turns out to be, spoilers, the next Charlize basically to take over the mantle for her. And she's freaking gorgeous too. And they get into girl fights, but like hardcore fucking girl fights. So check that one out. So the hate watch, Christy mentioned that I had a hate watch. One of my girlfriends, now this is with a grain of salt, because I was never, and you can tease me all you want, I was never into the 50 Shades, the book or the movies. So, but one of my girlfriends who was into it said that this new movie, 365 Days, she works at a hair salon. She's like, all the girls have watched it. All the girls are talking about it. The guy is so hot. Okay, the guy is hot. But 365 Days is available on Netflix. And it was the funniest. I watched it because I thought it would at least be sexy. Go into it with a hate watch mentality. Gorgeous people, gorgeous scenery. My husband says that it's something in the movie business. Basically, if someone wants to visit a certain very beautiful locale in the world, they'll actually make a movie set in that location so that they can actually go take that vacation and spend the extra budget. Whatever it was, beautiful, beautiful to look at. This dude, Maximus, he's a Italian gangster, and he witnesses his father get shot in the head in a gang deal gone bad. And at the moment, his worst moment of his life, he says, of seeing his father get shot, he sees this kind of average-looking brunette woman on the beach, and he decides apparently that he saw her during the worst moment of his life, and he's now in love with her. And he fucking stalks her for like 2 years, kidnaps her, and takes her to takes her against her will to his mansion, his remote location, and is not a very nice guy and is like, you're going to fall in love with me. I'm going to keep you here for 365 days until you fall in love with me. So
Jesus.
And it's so poorly acted and it doesn't make any sense and they fuck a lot. So that's supposedly the hot part, but honestly, it's so softcore. Just go watch porn if you're going to look for something sexy.
Right.
And the ending is like, what the hell? So anyway, there's a fun.
So it's not recommended.
It's a sexy-ish because they're beautiful people, poorly acted.
Figure out if you're recommending this or not. I'm like,
way too much plot for a porn film that's in the same vein as those terrible 50 Shades movies that I have not seen, but I've seen enough of like the synopses online to know that it's basically the same, stalker guy, but because he's hot and rich, it's okay. So.
Right. Gotcha.
Dark comedy, and this is another one I can't believe this was this year. It's called Dead to Me. Have either of you watched it? It's on Netflix.
I love it. I love the other actress that's not Christina Applegate. I mean, I love Christina Applegate, but the main,
the brunette, yeah.
Yes, I love her in that show. She's so crazy and quirky, and yeah, it's a great show.
You can't really trust her because she can't really trust herself. Yeah, that's a crazy ass show. So it's a dark comedy. I mean, because there's cover-ups of murder is basically what it's about, but it's two people who are deeply, deeply broken, who find, their soulmate in a platonic way with one another, and it's crazy. So Linda Cardinelli is the brunette.
Yeah.
And then James Marsden is also in it, and he does a great job in there. What's that?
I said Jimmy. I went to high school with him, so.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yeah.
He was Jimmy in high school.
Nice. Was he that hot then?
He was cute, but he's glowed up hardcore.
I was gonna say he'd grown up. Yes.
He was a good-looking guy, but nobody's like uber hot like that in high school. I mean, he was a total like drama dork, who was good-looking, but not like
those big blue
not
eyes.
like he is now. Yeah.
Nice. So best straight up just comedies. The two that I recommend, they're both on Netflix. One of them is called Sex Education. Did either of you guys end up watching that one, the first season at least? Okay. British comedy. You did?
You're talking what, Sex Education?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I've seen that's a pretty good, it's a good show. I like that.
Did you see the second season?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's 2 seasons. The second season came out in 2020. It's basically a coming of age story. It's British comedy about a young man whose mother is a sex therapist, and he basically, long story short, is getting paid to give, he's obviously not credentialed sex therapist, but he's giving sex advice to the teenagers at his school for money. But he's himself extremely awkward. So not to spoil too much, but in the second season, he learns the joys of masturbation finally, and he's just like... He's just jerking off everywhere. At one point, his mother, who's played by
Gillian Anderson.
Yes.
It? Yeah.
Gillian
my
Anderson.
God. That's one of the funniest parts that I think is on the show.
You can't unsee it, and it's so fun. Okay, so not to spoil too much, but when he's learning the stories of masturbation, he gets to that teenage boy point where everything he sees is sexy to him in some way. So he's in a grocery store parking lot in the car waiting for his mom to get back. And he sees something that sets him off, and he starts jerking off in the car. And then just as he gets to the end of that endeavor, his mother is back knocking at the window.
Oh my God.
But it's not exactly what you would expect because she's a sex therapist. So that's what makes it even more awkward that she's like not freaked out about it. He's like dying.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. His mom is like, we can talk about this, Otis. And he's like, oh God, I don't want to talk about this ever. Like
yeah. I would have said, you just, here's the keys. I got to Uber home. I might not be back for like 5 days.
Ever. Never saw my mother again. So another good comedy, just another feel good. It's called Teenage Bounty Hunters, and it centers around 2 young ladies who become teenage bounty hunters basically through circumstances. But they're supposedly twins, although they don't look anything alike. And they remind me, I like it a lot. It's funny, it's cute, it's sweet. And it has just enough, like a little bit of action and things as they become bounty hunters, and you see them trying to outsmart, grown men that they're trying to take into custody. But they also...
It got canceled.
It did get canceled. They remind me of my own daughters, and even their like relationship with one another. And one's a brunette and one's a blonde, just like my kids. I'm like, this is totally my kids in the future. One of them's like really pristine and prissy, and the other one's like getting dirty, But at the end of the day, yes, it ends on a huge cliffhanger, and it did get canceled, which is a real bummer because it's a great show, and I still recommend you checking it out. And then Lovecraft Country. I'm surprised none of us mentioned this one. Horror, sci-fi. It's HBO. Fucking amazing. Talking about race relations to some of the most beautiful actors and actresses you'll ever see in your life. The show is crazy off the wall, and it has a little bit of everything, and you need to check it out.
Yeah, it was great. I loved it.
Christy already mentioned, so I won't get too much into it, but The Undoing. Rich white people are fucked up just like we thought.
More.
Right. So that's a great one if you haven't checked it out. And then I just want to throw out some movies, especially because some of these I really loved, and I cannot believe they were this year because some of them I actually saw in a theater before the shutdown. The Gentleman was actually this year. That was one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time. Do you guys remember seeing that one?
I don't.
Okay. The Gentleman. Okay, Yardley, you would like it. So The Gentleman stars Hugh Grant. It has everybody. It has Charlie Hunnam, who I call him Hummina. It technically came out at the end of 2019, but I saw it in the theater in 2020. It's what's his face? Matthew McConaughey, Michelle Dockery from Downton Abbey is in it, and she's looking smoking hot.
Okay, I've seen the advertisements. I just haven't seen the movie. Okay.
It's available to watch readily now. Check it out. It's a really well done film. Twists and turns. If you like The Departed, movies like that, it's like that. Usual Suspects, like gangster, some humor, lots of violence, good shit. Women getting their own back. Really cool stuff. Nice. Check that one out. Bill and Ted Face the Music. If you just want another feel good film, is a really fun movie to watch and came out this year, and I got to see it at a drive-in theater post-COVID times. So I have fond memories of it. Things that I can't believe came out this year. Birds of Prey, the Harley Quinn film, came out this year. That one's really good.
Seemed like that was 10 years ago.
I know, right? And then this one technically came out in 2019, but it came out at Christmas time, so it's basically 2020. Knives Out. Do you guys remember that
one? Yes, I loved that movie. I went and saw it for my birthday. I dragged Rick with me. He didn't want to see it, and he loved it. So
good. So good. And then honorable mention, Christy already talked about it, but Schitt's Creek, that's something that I would watch again, just in the background, because it's just comforting, and I feel like I'm friends with those people now. And then finally, last but not least, but I forgot that was this year, even though the last season just ended a few weeks ago, The Boys. I know, Christy, I think you said you couldn't get through it. Yardley, have you watched The Boys?
I remember.
Yeah, I've watched it. I mean, I think that, I thought the first season was better than the second season.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's definitely solid, but you kind of feel like, at least for me, after the second season ended, it's like, am I tired of these characters yet? I just can't even, what I mean? But I'm very
awful.
Yeah, so I kind of look forward to some of the twists and, some of the newer characters that I guess they're going to develop a little bit more, but was it like Homelander's son or whatever? So I'm definitely curious about it, but I don't know. They need to kind of make it a little bit more exciting, as when it was new in the first season.
Yeah, I think too they do so much shock that you kind of are like, what can they do to even get any worse than they've done before?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so that's pretty much it for me. Like I said, there was a lot more, but once I started going back, I'm like, that was still this year, and that was still this year. So it's a weird moment for sure.
An infinite amount of stuff to pick from, and
heck yeah.
I guess as we close out 2020, I just want to say thank you to everybody who downloads the podcast and who have stuck with us this year as well. Hopefully next year we can keep riding the wave and producing content. Hopefully none of us get sick and we just keep it moving. outside of that, I guess we'll give our socials in a minute, but are there any closing thoughts from either of you as we wrap up the last podcast of 2020?
Yay. Thank you guys for being our co-hosts and our listeners for being our listeners. That's all I was going to say.
Yeah, and please feel free to go and leave reviews. Nice ones, please. I mean, we don't need any trolls on there. We get enough trolls, so please don't go out of your way to be an asshole. Plus, karma. But yeah, by all means, please go and rate, review our podcast. It helps us. It helps us reach new people. So with that, it's definitely appreciated.
All right. Well, you can follow me on Twitter at militant_marker. What are your socials, Christy?
Which one do we want to go first? I go first. You can find me Creepin' at Christy on Instagram, Creepin_it on Twitter. And Moni?
I am Moni Bear across the board, and you can also find me at creatorsassemble.org and any of the Creators Assemble on socials. Real quick, next week's show is going to be, or whenever it comes out, the Clown Motel. I'm going to the world famous Clown Motel in Tonopah, Nevada. And I'm also checking out the extremely famously haunted minefields and cemeteries, both of Tonopah and of Goldfield, Nevada. We're taking a socially distanced road trip, and just a girlfriend and I, we got our COVID tests and we are ready to go. So wish us luck surviving. I'm staying in room 108, which is the designated IT clown room. And someone did die in there. Like, that's actually true. What's that?
You're insane.
I'm so excited. We're gonna do it. You can bring a clown to leave there. So my friend's gonna bring an old clown that she doesn't do anything with. She loves clowns. I'm not afraid of them, so I don't really care. Yeah. I'm more excited the cemeteries and all those kind of places. There's really good stargazing. Of course, we've paid for a couple of socially distanced ghost hunting experiences out there. So I'm bringing all my little ghost hunting equipment. I'm such a nerd, but we'll be doing the next show on it. I'll be telling you guys all about it.
Awesome.
Well, everybody, once again, I hope everybody has a great slide into the new year. And when we come back, we'll keep getting after it. So until then, everybody, keep it real.